All right, I suppose it's time for me to. Thank you, Prof, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. He said I'm some sort of social activist. I beg to differ. But I'm a social scientist, you know. This book and this event is of high interest, and the comments of the previous panelists, because I'm trained as a historian. So I certainly look at the past as a social scientist to problematize where we are, you know, in this particular global and local moment. And then I butter my bread by being a futurist, presuming to tell different clients, governments, corporates, civil society, international organizations, what to do to be future ready, especially in the realm of food systems. So that anchors my comments. So I think first of all, I really just wanted to say that I have great regard for Prof Tay, no relation, as a polymath, you know. So think about it, you know, okay, just to be a bit cheeky, if Adolf Hitler had remained a painter, you know, or if Bashar al-Assad had remained an ophthalmologist, you know, optometrist, or if Lee Kuan Yew, for that matter, had just remained a lawyer and just made money, you know, history would have turned differently, you know. I think it's not too much puffery to say likewise for Tay Kheng Soon as an architect, you know, but really so much more than that. And I think this book that he has is really a distillation of, so much of his life's work and belief and looking ahead in that sense. And so you can really get so much out of the book. Yes, I'm plugging it, can have maybe 5% maybe of the proceeds, but you can either take it as a whole corpus, and I think he should, you know, in the Q&A explain the central logic to his book. Because there is one, and I encourage you to buy it, because there's a very chim portion right at the end that I'm still wrapping my brain around, this part here, and this colorful, okay, look at pages 2, 3, 5, 6 onwards. Yeah. So I think that's a hinge of his whole book, his epiphany. So we'll let him explain that maybe to those who buy the book. Yeah. All right. So I think that's number one. You know, I think there's so much there. You can mix and match. I've known Prof for a few years, and I think we sparred over many things. I don't agree with all the views there, but that's the thing, you know, there's so much there to interact with and to edify oneself. Okay, and I think number two, related to that, another person who wrote a review of the book said that it is in a way, it's an intergenerational love letter, or at least provocation manifesto. And I like the almost like, ageless hipster kind of way that he formats the book and gets things across. On the one hand, it's a very quick read, but then you can sleep on it under your pillow and get so much more again with the ideas. And so, cross-generational. So I've been tasked, I think I'm a young Singaporean, which speaks to our demographic crisis. I don't feel that young, I'm in my 40s. But I do have young children, and we did our duty because we have two. You know, so let me maybe expand on what the young want. I mean, on the one hand, it's universal. It's not just Singaporean, and I think previous speakers have talked about how everything is linked to everything else, right? Be it the macroeconomy or flows of people, ideas, cultures, and so on. What do I want for my young children that I think again is for everyone and is universal? I think, and these also speak again to the times we are in and look ahead to where we'll be, and also some resonance of what was before, including very wrenching changes that Prof reacts to, like how Malaya, got split apart, or rather we left. Okay, so number one would be safety and security, and that sounds very trite, but I think unfortunately we are in a new Cold War, and perhaps we are even closer to a hot war than we were, back when I was conscripted in the 90s. I'm still at the tail end of my service in the military. Interesting story there as a reservist. So safety and security, that's I think a basic human aspiration, but I think that'll be more problematized. One thing that we haven't talked about enough, the book kind of skirts it, is the ecological crisis that we are in. So that's also a big threat to life and limb. And the threshold for of it is when people who are middle class and above start feeling the type of challenges that poor and vulnerable people around the world have felt all the time. So things like flood may come to you. Okay, so building on that, I think that I came up with this crude acronym of what I think would be the aspirations of what I would want for the next generation, not just my children. So CLIMB, C-L-I-M-B. I think, and this also speaks to the economy. I have different views on neoliberalism, but onto that later. So I think for number one is that we can't help but be consumers. But overconsumption has led us to this predicament. But there's also the predicament of the consumer economy, the modern economy. So how do you consume more circularly, and also as part of that co-create goods and services that you need. But then the economy will find another level if you don't have that much flowing through the formal economy. You have the maker movement and so on. So L, what's L? Labor. We all need to work hard in school, in life, but I think with AI there, let's not get on the cul-de-sac and talk about AI, but I think that they'll be laboring through innovation. So I think that we need to learn to be innovative. I think the future of education has been one key concern of Kheng Soon's. Next would be investment. Of course in the sense that we all know, but also how to invest not just your resources, but your time and talent and endowment as well. And that relates to the M part, which would be a sense of mission. What is that? That's a whole topic in itself, as well as the B, which is belief, which is private but also corporate as well. And so then maybe at the apex of this triangle that I've drawn here, I think that part of the values and sensibility in which to execute these goals would be to have a certain cosmo-local sense of where we are as people in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, in quite a troubled and extraordinary world. So on the one hand, you want people who tend to themselves take care of their own interests, but also look after the interests of their neighbor. So what's a neighborhood? You can view that concentrically, including beyond our borders. But I think, as Roosevelt said, if your neighbor's house is on fire, you've got to help them put it out, right? Or else look at what's happening in LA, for instance. So cosmo-localism, and having that sense of history, including of the inequities, but also the unique endowment that the colonial moment has given Singapore. And that sense of history that will inform our savvy interaction and respectful interaction with our immediate neighbors, for instance. Now let me talk about government and society for a while, since it's been brought up. I don't have a strong view on what economic system we need next time, but I think that it should start first with really government and society. So if anything, in the poly-crisis we are in now, and I'm not just talking about Singapore, but I think governments around the world, will likely need to step up more, to correct market failures and to manage and avert crises as well. So you probably need a big state, But at the same time, matching it, you need a big society, such as people with the CLIMB values that I mentioned, engaging. A lot of people have visions about how they want their country to change, they want their politics to change. I think if society changes itself, eventually the government will change, either is in a leading way or in a following way, in the political market economy that we have globally. And around that, I think that government-society link, responding to the needs, the aspirations of the people, then will structure how we relate to enterprises. I do think that Singapore's strength would be the strong state sector, if it can be run in a way that helps us ride the next wave in the region. So it comes to my last point for now, which is a sense of space and place. And of course, as an architect, you have that. I think that of course, space and place and everything. There's exteriority, interiority, but there's also the inner life, and they're all linked as well. And it's all about location, and the history that attaches to it as well. So I also like this sense of space that comes in the treatment in the book. And I think with that, I would say that one interesting development then are things that defy a sense of space, a sense of corporeality. So that will be one theme that we need to engage with moving forward. Things that are in the ether, literally, like Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, for instance. So how do you outflank this sense of space and even of time as well? So with that, thank you again, and kudos to Kheng Soon on such an excellent book.